So today is the 17th of September. I am recording a day early because I'm expecting to be quite busy. I have made the decision to go back to school, and Wednesday is my orientation, and then I start actual school next week. So hopefully, getting this done a day early will help create less stress as I'm going into the next week. Tomorrow is going to be possibly quite stressful for me, so let's just do it today. Going back to school is a little daunting because I'm in my late 30s, and also because I haven't been in school in almost 20 years, and there's just so much that's different. When I went to school before, almost nothing was online, and now everything is online. um, when I went to school before, I was trying to find myself and I was just starting out in the world. I was struggling with depression. I was working myself to like nothingness. And this time I am not in some of those same situations. When I went to school before, I hadn't recently, within the last 2 years, done name changes and done changes to like my life and even recognized legal gender. And so it has been so gender dysphoria triggering to fill out all the applications, the paperwork for scholarships, grants, for all the different systems and memberships and signups and stuff that you have to do for school, and explaining to people that you're asking to please give you money, why your documents show different names. Like, they wanted stuff from the year that my name change went through, so I had to provide documents from before the name change went through to after the name change went through. I also happened to move that year, so then I had to provide documents from before the move and after the move. Like, it was really a lot. And the barriers to actually getting help going to college are ridiculous, and I live in a quite liberal state, and it's still very hard. It is so difficult, and having to convince people that you're allowed to exist, or you're allowed to just be you, or to please respect who you are as a person, and not having to constantly re-explain over and over again, trying to substantiate that this is how it is now, and this is who you are now. It is so frustrating, so hard. I I had some days where I literally just like would fall apart for the second half of the day and just end up like staring into space and stuff. Like I really struggled with it so much because I've always struggled just to feel like I'm allowed to exist in the first place ever since I was a tiny, tiny, tiny little toddler. And so constantly having to make up to people that I exist is a hard enough core like function to get over. And then on top of that, having people offer reasons why you have to go above and beyond when you already struggle with that particular thing is just super hard. Some people are way kinder than other people about it, and then some people are just so matter of fact they just want it to fall in without complication into the system, and they're automatically irritated with you, sometimes not even because they're anti LGBT plus, but because they are anti anything being complicated, anything being other than the norm. And all these forms and boxes and stuff that you have to check mark, they none of them are intersex. It's not an option offered that, oh, you were born not male or female, technically somewhere between, that had to be figured out. It's just not offered, and when I was born it was absolutely not offered. So it's it's difficult. There are some businesses that are moving toward putting intersex as an option, but it's not very many. And I also had to talk to them about that. Right now I have to be a part-time student because I have to go to health appointments every single week, and depending on how those health appointments go will depend on when I have a surgery that is going to be a surgery with a recovery time long enough. I will have to take a whole quarter off from college, and trying to explain that without explaining what it's about and having to talk about, oh, well, I'm going to be having this surgery. It's going to be a 3 to 4 month recovery time, probably, but I can't tell you exactly when the surgery is because I'm still going to appointments toward the surgery, aka electrolysis. Also, I'm really disappointed with the rate that electrolysis is going. I I feel like it's going slower than it should be, but the way that I signed up was that there could be trainees and stuff, and they're just there's just so much slowness compared to when the trainee's not there. And on the one hand, at least I get electrolysis, and at least it's actually covered by insurance because there's no way in the world I could afford to pay for it. And on the other hand, it means my surgery is even further and further away, and that's just excruciating. And partially I'm going to college because I had the opportunity to attempt to try to go without having to go into student debt. Partially I'm going to college because I haven't had a further education in a long time, again, almost 20 years. Partially I'm going to college because I would like to actually have some sort of clear path going forward where I can work part time, work remotely, call it good, be good to go, and make enough to live off of and not have to stress about that, and still be doing something where I feel like I'm helping people. And this will make it so that I can do that. It will help me in the long run to go to college and do this stuff. But partially also, I'm going to college to try to distract myself from how upset I am about surgery and how upset I am about finding work that it is essentially you pick your hours. Like, it's really hard. And I need that because of my health situation at the moment. And a few years from now, this won't be my situation anymore. And hopefully, my health will be all dandy and fine, and I can just exist. It's such a huge thing to me to get to the point where I can just exist, and that's it. Nothing else is happening. Like, actually be able to just pursue normal things of life or interests or whatever. Like, I get so mentally and emotionally drained that I can't even, like, hardly play video games right now. Like, hardly even touch hobbies. Like, I was, doing a bunch of weightlifting and stuff to the point where I had lost a decent amount of weight, and I'm not being consistent with it again. And I was being really consistent, and it's just like distressing. It's really, really distressing to be constantly bombarded with having to re-certify to yet another someone who I am over and over again, and hope that that's acceptable because that's how it has to be. It's just really, really not great. And I'm hoping that once school actually starts, that will just tone down, go away, and not be a big issue anymore. But it's definitely something I'm worried about, that each quarter it's going to come up again. That I'm going to have to fill out yet another something, and I'm going to have to deal with it again, but hopefully not to the degree that I had to initiate all of this in the first place. Because it's a lot. It's a lot of non-stop gender dysphoria. Like, really painful, do I lie, or do I say, well, technically this is not correct, but there's not an option for what technically is correct? Like, every single form, every single checkbox, every single sex versus gender options, like, I am tormented by it. And on the one hand, it can be really forward thinking, or however you want to say that. It can be progressive that they put sex boxes and then gender boxes. Like, but for me, it's agonizing. I've been going with male because I feel like even though my sex, I was misidentified as female when I was born, my birth certificate is changed. I did change it, and I wasn't female when I was born. I was intersex. And there's actually more of me that was male than that was female, and all of it was deformed. All of it didn't function to, normal parameters. I was abnormal, and I am now trying to fix what was done to me to try to normalize me, and I am now trying to get the surgeries I need to be able to just even function. And I've already had some surgeries, so I am a walking Ken doll. And that's a little scary for me. I'm going to be going to school in person, and I'm possibly going to be the oldest person in the room. And on top of that, I don't know how well passing it's going to be that I am or anything. And I don't want to be tormented. Sometimes kids can be mean, although it seems like the younger generations are a lot kinder in regards to LGBT plus issues. So at least I have that. Like, but I have 3 pairs of underwear that have pre-packed packers in them, and I worry about what if they're all dirty? you know, what if someone notices something weird? Like, I've at least had top surgery. I can't imagine going into all of this without having already done my legal documents and without having already had top surgery and the hysterectomy, vaginectomy, all that stuff. Like, I don't think I could have even possibly considered college before. I flat out can tell you I wasn't considering college before. Like, it wasn't even on my radar. And you could say part of that is because my life changed last year when my relationship status changed. And that's probably true. And you could say, hey, I'm starting to get past some of the grief of it, although that person's birthday was very recently, and the whole day I definitely struggled. So I'm not like over it. I still definitely have issues, but it's like I'm getting more functional. I'm getting more to where it's not just that I know I should try to invest in myself and build my life up from scratch, but that I feel like that's a real and genuine thing and a possibility, and that the future could look 5 years from now very different for me, the person me. 5 years from now, I could be done with surgeries, hopefully, and possibly even done with some of the tattooing, and just in school. And 5 years from now, maybe even graduated school. I'll either be at the end of it or done with it, and starting to work possibly at my new quote unquote career. And I've never been a big giant career person, but I also just crave peace and safety and contentment. Some people really seem to thrive on emotional roller coastering with relationships or with things in life or even with finances, and I'm just not like that. I would much rather things be more balanced and steady and regulated and calm. I'm just not drawn to that, and I just I really want to get to a place in my life where I can just be steady. And things are going to come up in life. That doesn't mean, oh, never feel any gender dysphoria ever again, or oh, never have a problem again, or oh, never end up in a relationship where there's problems again, or anything like that. That's not what that means. I mean, I could get to a place where my life is supposedly steady and then suddenly the house burns down. Stuff happens. But not inviting extra chaos into my life and having it just be that those chaotic moments are from life happening instead of from just having so much around me that constantly perpetuates that. I this month also went to the ocean with my family and stuff, and I wasn't technically supposed to put my scars out from my hysterectomy and stuff until like December, but I was like, screw it, you know, it's been more than a year for my top surgery scars. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna go shirtless. So I went shirtless for the first time in public and at the ocean and stuff, and it was good. It felt good. We put a lot of sunscreen on, and especially over scar areas, we put extra sunscreen by basically putting one type of sunscreen and then putting another type of sunscreen over it. But yeah, I ran around in just my swim trunks and jumped in the waves with my nephews. And at first, my younger nephew of the ones that were there was like, you have like stitches. And I was like, it's okay, they're healed up. It's good enough. And so that was the only comment of the whole whatever that I heard. I don't know if other people talked about it when I would like run off to play in the surf and the sand and everything. But I was very happy to at least do that this summer one time. Like, that was so much more comfortable as well. I was actually, part of the reason I took my shirt off at all was I was overheating. It was a very sunny, warm, perfect beach day. And part of a perfect beach day means it's a little hot. And I was like, I'm overheating. Screw it. Like, I just got to this point where I was just like, forget about it. I'm just going to do it. So I did. And I'm glad I did. I intend to do it a lot more next year when I can. Next year, hopefully I will have surgeries, or at least my next surgery, in time that I will be able to run around part of the summer, or even all of the summer. I don't know. I don't know how surgeries are going to go, and obviously you don't know if there's going to be like complications or not. My next surgery, I'm just waiting for this electrolysis. And the electrolysis is just, sorry, my nose is itchy, is just very slow and tedious. Slow and tedious. But the electrolysis is now all the way to like here, and then you come around to this arm, and it's all the way to like to here on this side. So it's almost all the way around, and it's in a area that's like, here, I'll do it on this side of the arm. Is like, where is it? Like there. So that much of my arm, and it goes around almost all the way now. So then they'll do up here a little bit, and then all the down here part. So I was hoping by now to be done with this particular band and to be moving on to one of the other bands of hair, but no. Haven't done that yet. It's annoying. But whatever. Is what it is. As far as transitioning stuff goes, that's pretty much it. I still take testosterone every week, still using the rosemary mint oil in my hair follicles, and it's seems to still be keeping me from having more receding hairline. I still, you know, go to all my appointments and stuff like that. Still intend to get surgery. Same surgeries, same surgeon, same. No changes that I am aware of. I I just I'm really ready for filling out paperwork and having to describe to everyone my gender and my identity and my birth situation and why did I change my name and what like I'm so sick of all of that. If that can just like calm down, that would be extremely helpful. um just in general. Like my mental health, my emotional well-being would do a lot better. I just I'm trying really hard to move on from my ex spouse, and I'm trying really hard to make my life more about me. And I think college will help with that and will help me feel more like I'm going in a positive direction because I'm the kind of person who just wants to feel some slight measure of progress and try to distract myself from the absolute distress of I don't know when surgery is going to happen. And that only makes any other kind of distress more painful. I have been trying to be more aware of the global high intensity activation and some of my behaviors and stuff that are involved with that, and it definitely is really obvious to me sometimes. Oh, right now, global high intensity activation explains all of this that's happening right this second. And so it has been helpful to have that diagnosis and stuff. Um, I feel like I feel like maybe part of my issues with feeling like hope, some of my issues with feeling like that I really do have a future and that it's a struggle for me to not feel like the other shoe's about to drop and things like that are like a mix between the dysphoria and then the GHIA and then PTSD. It's like I have this weird combo going on of things that lead toward despair. And so I am even more grateful that I'm on testosterone than I already was because not being in a constant state of depression and realizing how susceptible I am to that is something that I am tremendously grateful for and don't really know how to put into words. Testosterone, I mean, yeah, it feels like my bones are starting to get different. Like, I've noticed, I guess that's one thing I can say with my transition that isn't same. I have noticed that when I like am exercising and things like that, I can actually feel some of the like strain on the joint or some of the like pressure where the bones connect, and it isn't feeling like my bone's about to come out of socket or that my bone's about to like destroy itself. I can feel the pressure of it, but it doesn't actually feel like I'm about to wound myself, which is very interesting for me. So I can almost like I know you can't feel your bone density getting stronger, and yet somehow I can almost feel it. I can feel that my bones are capable of doing more than they were, like even 7, 8 months ago. And every year that I'm on testosterone, I feel like hopefully that will just continue to improve and improve. I also have had to take my iron less often. I'm taking my iron like maybe 1 or 2 times a month. And I used to have to take it like every couple days. So, I mean, I at some points in my life I had to take it every day, but I'm saying it's very noticeable for me. Like the difference bone wise is super noticeable. But it's also very noticeable to me that I basically had the cards stacked up for me to be in a non-stop state of depression for my entire life. It wasn't even just, yeah, there's this whole hormone issue going on and I don't produce enough testosterone. It was like between the hyper abusive, povertous, religious extremist, like re- high rejection and neglect childhood with bullying and housing insecurity and schools constantly switching schools and like not having friends, and I mean like just everything all piled on to my childhood like that's just like bad stuff, and then thankfully a few good things sprinkled in, but mostly like a ton of negative stuff that each one individually would be hard for someone to deal with. And then I have like this plethora and then on top of that, hitting young adulthood and misunderstanding what was going on with me and turning myself into a dyke lesbian instead of knowing that being trans was even an option for me, and then going from one terrible relationship to another, some of them quite literally abusive, and then like also struggling to hold down like a job that for very long, or struggling to fit in with people, struggling to make friends. Like I just have like all these different burdens and stuff, and then on top of that I have like PTSD and I have this GHIA and my nervous system doesn't regulate correctly. And it's like, even besides the testosterone or the, well, lack thereof, I was set up for failure, and somehow I'm still pursuing moving on with life. And I used to be really ashamed of just how many times I had attempted to take my own life when I was younger. And now I'm like, good grief, no wonder. You know, like, no wonder. I used to see it as some sort of personal weakness of mine, that I found life so painful and so hard, and it was just so difficult for me to continue to exist. Existence in and of itself was torture. And I thought that just meant that there was something really wrong with me and I was just like weak or fragile or something. And I look at it now and I'm just like, I don't know how I did it. I get exhausted just from trying to keep up with things now, and somehow I did all of that. I got through all of that. I survived all of that. I kept trying to grow and I kept trying to improve myself. I think about it and I'm just like, how? It's like I a melting pot of not positive things all mixed together and stirred up and heaped into a person. And somehow I ended up not becoming like an addict or becoming like a gambler or, like someone who's in jail. I do my very best to be a good person, and I see so many people who really struggle with stuff from when they were younger, and they really struggle to want to change or to want to do better sometimes. And I can at least be proud of myself that I always have good intentions and that I always am trying. Even when I am messing up, I am trying my very hardest. I feel like I'm constantly trying to overcome barriers and hurdles just to get to some sort of sense of normalcy. But I'm really hoping that I'm finally to the point in life where that's a true possibility. 5 years from now, what will I be saying on this vlog? I hope a lot better things. I hope at the very least I'll be done with surgeries, maybe even done with tattooing. That would be amazing. Done with surgeries and done with tattooing. Done with school. Started into a new job. Finding like a really clear path toward the peace that I'm constantly looking for.